All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in again. And today we're going to be doing this Druidic Moongate. Now, I usually don't do these set pieces like this. I usually stay modular, but I got inspiration, so I went with it. I don't fight it. Let's do this. All right, guys, so I started off with that Wylock recommended and inspired graphics medium chipboard. Great deal. I emphasize that again. I cut a 7x1 strip, and that was just to get a platform and then just cut some quick bricks. I didn't measure this because it really didn't matter. I just started laying the bricks down, and this was just going to act as a platform for the next step. Now, I didn't just use one solid brick of it because I wanted to create the illusion of many bricks underneath, and you'll see that later. All right, so I started the main structure of it with some nice therapeutic cuts of some XPS, had a nice sharp blade, and just went to work. The goal was to make it as thin as possible. Well, not as thin as possible, but thin because they were going to be stacked and layered. So, and I just started cutting. So if some of them were off, some of them were small, they were unusable, whatever. I just tossed it in the pile. I just kept cutting. No rhyme or reason. I didn't let indecision hold me up. I just cut. And then I took the star of the show, a paper clip. This is a crafter's rebar right here. And I went ahead and shaped it up into a crescent. And then I started matching it up to the mini just to get an idea of maybe if I needed another one or whatever. But I knew that it wasn't going to be exact either. Even doing this, I knew it wasn't going to be exact. So let's just start building. And now to the main event. I went ahead and dipped it in that glue. And I pushed it on through. And I made it do what it do. And that's it. Rinse and repeat till it's neat. I kept the wet nap on the side so that my fingers could reset, but I just kept pushing through. Alright, so as I continue stacking them, naturally at a point resistance starts to kick in to the point where the struggle just isn't worth it, basically. So that's when I stopped, kind of reset my hands, straightened it out, and then just clipped it up and then put it to the foundation here. Did it to the other side, and then I knew that I was gonna let it dry. Now, some of them did pivot out of sequence or out of alignment as I was going through, but that's all right because the tacky glue was gonna give me enough time to reset that and let that dry all naturally. Plus, there's a paper clip in there. So regardless of if the glue dries them all together, I knew that the paper clip was going to let me shape it all at the end. Obviously not roughly, but And then that's a little pic of me letting it dry. So I got to this point. I stacked a few extra bricks there. And that's always a man for scale. All right. After I let it dry, let's continue. So I went ahead and I had to shape that out first. But did the same thing again. Stacked them in. And now I kind of slid them side by side, the paper clips ends, so that one poked through the other and then the other one poked through the top, if that makes sense. Sometimes my descriptions ain't right, but you can see it start to form. All right, I'm getting close now. So I switched to the hot glue because I wanted it to be immediate. I wanted the results to be quick and firm at this point. The goal here was to bring it all the way to the top of the crescent so I can marry them with a nice middle brick there. All right, so that's where I was happy with, and time for the finale. I just free cut this, and I gave it some slant so it would blend in, or not blend in, so it would just hot glue kind of nice. Wasn't perfect. There was still a little bit of tension to it, but at this point, you just roll strength checks on it and intimidation checks, and you just tell it to stop playing around and make it do what it do. Get tough with your hot glue. Oh man, I'm laughing in the room all by myself. All good. I hope y'all laughing with me. Yeah, I filled it back in. All right, y'all caught me. I had to come back in with a little repair work. All right, this is me straightening it out here and just making that paper clip inside work with me. All right, so now the foundation started off with some foam board, just sketching out kind of the design, and then cut out some chipboard. Now this was gonna act like that last layer of rock. Once I had that design, I went ahead and peeled off, and it didn't matter if it all peeled off and I had to scratch into it because it was gonna be groundwork anyway. And then this was just to keep it all stable as a bottom layer of the foundation. So again, no rhyme or reason. I just drew rough shapes and went ahead for it. Oh, knock that. All right, so once I put them together and then had a rough shape, also beveled the sides of both the chipboard and the foam board, I went ahead and started building up with the DM Scotty method of hot glue and using that to spread it around. And this was going to create that hill effect later on when I put the flocking over it. And I just kind of gave it a slope. That was it. I wanted it to be nice and smooth slope. And it's all hot glue. I went all the way around with it. All right, so after I cut the main structure of it to its original foundation, I added it to these. And again, I have an intruder. Cut! All right, where was I? Tearing bricks. That's what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and hot glue these around the foundation and just build that up, or build it down, or build it to the side. I'm gonna make it look like I'm an actual mason here. With no masonry skills whatsoever, I'm gonna fake it till I make it. Alright, so here was something that I remember from about a half a year ago. This channel popped up in my feed and I just recently went back to make sure I got it right, just to check. And the channel was called Square to Spare. And what she did was she does these interior model kits and dioramas. And I'm not sure why it popped in my feed, but I was like, this is pretty cool. So she made like a cobblestone, or not cobblestone, but tile set interior with the egg carton. And I thought that was pretty neat. So I stashed away an empty egg carton for myself, and this was the project that I decided to go through. Now, I know BMC recently released a video about a month or two ago of this recording as a substitute, but he did it for bricks. Now, for me, I wanted to do tile stone so that it looked like the grass kind of sat, with the tile. So I needed something real flat and with texture. So this was it. I thought it was perfect for this job or this project. And then I sealed it up with Mod Podge. Now, can you do the Mod Podge black paint mixture? Sure. I decided not to, and not to mix up a small little batch, only because I wanted pure Mod Podge. Is there a difference? I'm not sure. I haven't tested these things out. But what I do know is pure versus dilution. I mean, that's a simple concept for me to know. So as far as the ratios and the proportions and your formulas, whatever. And that was it. I'm letting this dry and seal, and here's old Wizard Man back going through the Moongate. Yeah, and then gave it that Johnny Cash coat, that Black Album. Alright, and then it was ready for that gray paint, that pewter gray. So I just jabbed it in like I've been doing with all the stonework for the Druids Grove. Real simple, real easy. And then I switched it up with a dry brush of the same pewter gray. I don't know if it's really a dry brush or sort of a dry brushing, if that makes sense, but I just did my best to kind of do that. Now, I mixed in a little lighter gray. I wanted to come up some steps and pick out some stones that I can kind of differentiate because it just looked all gray. So I wanted to kind of mix it up a bit, and that was my solution. And I knew this was just one set piece, so I really wasn't going to have to come back and remember the ratio that I mixed it. Then I followed it up with some brown. Went ahead in between the rock stones. And then I'm going to let that dry up. Last step I did was a granite gray for the tile work in the middle. And that's it. And then I covered everything in a homemade black wash, simple water, black paint, a little bit of black paint, mixed it up, and I forgot what I used for the surfactant. All right, now time for flocking. So I used a small little brush that I abuse. That's my little reek. And just got in those crevices. Really make sure not to hit the tiles. And then I'm going to hit the flocking with it. And then the last step, like you've been seeing this whole grove, man, flock it. Flock it good. All right, so it could have been considered done, right? But I'm all about my cherry toppers. So I took these little circles I got from Michael's. I've been had them for a while now. A nice assortment. And I put one against the other, and I used it to make the crescent. Now in this next slide, I went ahead and carved it with the X-Acto knife. And I debated putting this in high speed, but in high speed, it really looks dangerous. And I want to let you guys know that as long as you're cutting away from your hand and you're not being quick with it or you're not being aggressive, you're just taking your time, you guys will be safe, you know, even if it's a little small one. Here, I felt like there was tension when I was pulling it. So instead of pulling it, I kind of jabbed it in with the X-Acto. And I just kept switching. That was it. Until it got loose, you know? Never, 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 ever pulling it more than it needs to. That's when it gets loose from you. That's when the knife gets loose from you and who knows where it goes, you know what I'm saying? So you just take your time with it. Now, maybe I could have benefited from a fresher blade. But sometimes I just go in, man, without the right equipment. And that's it. Okay, here I picked up the speed. And again, you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just taking my time. I'm not rushing this. It's small work, and the X-Acto knife it's a dangerous tool if you're not using it right. So that's it. I glued them together, and then I used these 3 colors here to paint it up. Real simple, real quick. That's quickle. And I did a quickle job because it wasn't the main focus of everything. So I didn't need to go above and beyond on this. It was just a nice touch, a nice cherry on top. But the cherry gets eaten quick, you know what I'm saying? And that's it, guys. So this is what it looks like in a little budget booth here. Tried to do a little setup highlighting this. And again, it's just a scenario. And then I was fortunate enough to get some pictures in session. So this is when the tree guardians kind of erupted out the ground on them. And then, boom. Everybody scattered. Everybody was scattered the whole night. I was killing them. They were like, oh, that's doing too much damage. No, you guys are scattered. I mean, look at y'all. Y'all all over the place. Y'all can't even keep track of each other. But 6d10 is a lot of damage. Plus, it was AoE. So, all right. You guys were right. I love you guys, man. I love y'all. Anyway, let's do the outro. I got to go wash my car, so y'all coming for the ride. Ooh, that sun. That bright sun. Ooh-wee. All right, guys. Well, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in. I'm always humbled that I even had 20 people that want to see my stuff. You know? So, that's wild, man. But I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate all the comments. Don't be afraid to just drop what your thoughts are, man. I mean, that's what we are. We just beings of thoughts, you know? And don't be afraid, man, to share that. I'm a big boy. I handle it. Just don't be disrespectful, you know what I mean? And there's a way to, you know, disagree and still be respectful. And there's a way to just be a troll. And I think we need to start a Alchemist Wildfire for Trolls campaign, but that's a whole nother thing, man. That's divisive. So anyway, I'm rambling, guys. Facebook, Craftniks. Twitter, Craftniks. Instagram, Craftniks. And I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one and go clean this salt off my car because my car's screaming on me like, ah. Yo, I'm laughing in the car by myself with the camera, guys. That's what it's come to. But I enjoy it. because what it leads to is conversations and interactions with you guys. So I'm gonna catch you guys. Hit me up. Peace.
Can't sit around in complacent procrastination. Achievements don't only come from PlayStation. The game's changing, but it's the same hating. Can't start a movement and be in the same placement. Can't be the master when it hasn't begun yet. Can't be a champion when no one won yet. Ain't enough time to entertain the dumbness. Regardless how you spend your day, the sun sets.